Welcome. This yesterday, in trying to complete the final, what they call it again? The final, when you're tying up things at the end.
Preparation.
My living experience then forced me to reflect, because I had never really sat and decided what I was going to say for my opening remarks. But Mr. Simeon Joseph, yesterday, in helping to organize here, made the comment to me that I had to come up here and say some remarks, and I had to, and I have to, and I have to. And I'm like, what do I have to really do in life? What do I really have to do in life? And it brought me to a place that made me reflect on why I found myself 2 weeks ago with this idea that I should do this, or I should get this done with the collaboration and help of several people. And it brought me to reflect on, where do ideas come from? When did this idea that I should do this, where did it start? How did I come to be involved in this that has nothing to do with medicine or agriculture? When did it all start? And like the answer I have come up with another significant question in my life, that's the only answer I could come up that was rational, was the same answer I came up with when I tried to find out, why am I here? Why am I living? What am I doing in Dominica, of all places? And my answer to that is really, I don't know. And it's humbling. So that's the same answer I came up with. I don't know. And that humbling I don't know is what I think has me here, because what it confirms to me is what little I know is nothing compared to what there is to know. So, in going back to why they have to, post-Maria, 2 or 3 things happened to me. And those who are close to me can support that I said that the word "my" was no longer significant in my being. Nothing belongs to me. And the second word for Mr. Simeon's information is that I don't have to do anything but live my life, enjoy it, and praise the Almighty. That's all I have to do. So, as Chronix would say in his song, for all those who went to the CO, we do it for the love, we don't do it for the likes. For those of you who are not young enough to understand that, it means we just do it because we have to do it. So that's why I do it. And Nacio Fontaine says in one of his songs that all we have to do is love Jah and live. In coming here this morning, I couldn't help but reflect on this whole issue of the Nature Isle, because 7:15 in the morning, I found myself in Maho in a vehicular traffic. 7:15 in the morning, trying to get here for 8, in the Nature Isle. And for me, that doesn't really reflect what I think the Nature Isle is all about. I sit in my vehicle trying to get myself in sync for this presentation, and I hear on the radio that some people up in Petit Colibri had to demonstrate about a road that was being blocked by somebody else, that a public road and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm saying, is this really the Nature Isle? And we are here in this independence reunion after 40 years. And although I'm not a biblical man myself, the biblical narrative of 40 years is not just about 10 years, it's not just about 20 years, neither is it about 30 years. It's about 40 years that after we have celebrated and going back to business as usual. 40 years in that narrative, to me or to my understanding, meant it is time to stop fooling around and claim this nature isle as our inheritance promised to our ancestors. 40 years is 40 years out of the wilderness that, if my understanding and my memory is right, that Moses served, or Moses was in charge of. I think we need to take this sacred land and make it work for us and our children, or else we will have more of what has happened in Petit Coulibaly yesterday. And I think if we don't do that in a way that preserves the nature isle and helps us to be more all for each and each for all, and helps us to extol the rivers, valleys, hills, and mountains, others will take it from us and send us back to the plantation. Because in life, anything you don't use, you lose. And anything you don't consider sacred and protect and give your life to it, you will lose it. So I hope this Futures Conference, this inaugural Futures Conference, will be a first step in that regard. I subscribe to the view that our past informs the present, and it's the present, what I do now, that will determine the future. I hope that we can examine together, with your help, the start to looking at who we are now, who we have been, and who we may become in the next 40 years in 2058. I'd like to welcome the presence of the students and the young people who will inherit this place who have just walked in. I'd like to recognize, thank you, give them a bigger hand of applause. I hope we really prepare in the ground that they can have a much easier future. I'd like to recognize the presence of Mr. Lennox Linton, leader of the opposition, Mr. Ken Vital, the leader of the Freedom Party, Mr. Hubert Charles from the Union Committee, and everyone else. I don't have to name you. You know it. You're all welcome. Thank you very much. May the conference begin. Our first presenter is no stranger to us. He is well known in our community. He's been around for a while. I don't think I need to read any bio about him. He has become what I would call a spiritual friend, and I would like to invite Henry Cassates Shillingford to present the big idea of the nature island of the world in 20 years.
Yes, welcome. Good morning, everyone. This question is, of course, been a burning question with me, and the reason I returned to this land of my birth, and I am still in culture shock after 25 years, because the reason and the work that I've done, and the reason I came back here, and my brethren, Afi, we walked many roads together to try to get this idea across. In the recent past, I've kind of given up. I felt that it was always the messenger and not the message. And I didn't fit the image of what people felt people should look and act like. And so therefore, rather than hurt the cause, I bowed. And I don't bow often. This is an extremely important issue for the world, and I don't take things lightly. I don't have small talk. I don't talk about the weather or what other people are doing. I talk about deep esoteric stuff of deep eternal importance. And this is one of them. And all of these things mesh, and IP kind of said it lightly. He went through a much bigger emotional trauma to get this happening, because even the person in the room who organized this is here, and I don't take back chat. And so you have somebody who's organized 40 years of independence and a program over 2 weeks of 40 years of independence of Dominica, and there's not one intellectual exercise in the whole program. So it's pure mouchouer and, madras and so on. But the depth, the person of who we are, and we're so special. We're so special naturally and culturally. And my tiredness comes from how many idiots in high positions just don't get it. And it's no light thing. It's no light thing. I sweat blood and tears. And I have these long snakes on my head for a reason. And they are a cross that I bear, but they are a cross in a society like this. And so, even this 40 years, it's not just 40 years, because that's the Old Testament. Everything is connected. And everything is connected. And it's not just 40 years of Moses, but it's 40 days in Gethsemane of Christ. And so, the New Testament and the Old Testament ties. And even in this supposedly religious society, the ones organizing a 40th year did not think it was important to add something spiritual and intellectual to the exercise of recognizing these 40 years. And that's the state of the intellectual ecology of Dominica. Its natural ecology is fantastic. Its intellectual ecology is decrepit. And we hope to do something about that today. And the exercise that I've been asked to do is to generate thought, to generate discussion amongst you, so that you can give back something to the nation that hopefully will inform the political directorate of where they should, and only, in my view, because I don't believe and I don't think, I know. And when I don't know, I've been taught something else. And we are somewhere here. Part of us, we are here. And this is made up of everything you are. Every mineral, every energy force that is in there is in you. And it just depends on circumstances and forces that these energies congeal into planets or stars or Milky Ways or whatever it is. And it even congeals into you. It congeals into planets. And so as we go through this, what we see is the potential of possibilities. And we all have dramatic potentials of possibilities. All of it is there for us to take. Well, these things are dependent on how these things have congealed. So do they make stars? Do they make planets? Do they make comets? Do they make life? It's all the same material. It's just how they manage to attract and connect and then congeal. And this occurs in everything, because as above, so below, as within, so without. This is actually your atomic structure. It's the same way it works. An atom is just the solar system. It's just energy spinning around a force in the middle. That's what everything is. Nothing is different. Even from out here to Lodi, it's the same scientific material that everything happens from. So as we flow through this, somewhere in there, there is this blue floating mass of wonder. And that has proven to be one that I think it is eternally and universally, as I and I would say it, universally important. And as we flow through there, come upon this magnificence in the midst of all of that. And somewhere there, and all of that energy has congealed into creating this thing. Somewhere there, all of these particles have congealed to make here. And there is the nature island of the world is called. And it is things have congealed in there to make you. And to make the Guamang, and to make the Gomye, and to make the Layu. All of these things specially have congealed there. This nature island of the world, also you have formed in the same place, so you have the same kind of material, and have congealed in kind of the same way, and has created wonders. And remember, with all of this, small is really beautiful. And this small place is really, really beautiful because...
Are you breathing? Living in our big cities may result in asthma, emphysema, and cancer. City pollution is far more harmful than smoking. The air we all depend on is being poisoned. Are you still breathing? Change starts when we realize there is something more.
And this is what it looks like when you get real close up to it.
Are you breathing now?
It's a pretty special place. And I've been a lot of places.
Beginning, middle,
and naturally,
here life is not to be conquered or accomplished, rather to be experienced.
And I do not want to go back. As you can see, there are these elements that we're bringing up are truly singular elements of Dominica. This little 200, 300 square mile place have these wonders. The fastest World Heritage Desert in the world, natural site. The most surface water per capita in surface life in the world. We haven't started to drill Dominica. How many wells there are in Dominica? There may be 10 underground rivers. The best hike in the world, not to mention it's the largest boiling lake in the Western Hemisphere. We're not second in the world. We're the largest in the Western Hemisphere. Grand Canyon don't have one. Brazil don't have one. Last to be colonized. We have particular cultural things. We have the first slave owner in Dominica was a Milad that hasn't worked anywhere in the world. So it's the only, like, we have sperm whales. We're an island of remarkable oceanographic, coral, whales. We haven't started to look. We have 100-foot oceans 50 foot out. This doesn't happen. You go 50 foot out, Barbados, you're just up to your knees. We have deep ocean close to us. As I said, the largest boiling lake in the Western Hemisphere. And look at where she's sitting. From that to this. We have from deep spring, hot springs, to the ocean, and our forests don't have no poisonous snakes or insects. I've talked to travelers in Brazil. You have to have long pants and long shirts, you know, leaves, insects. You can just, and in 10 minutes you're in deep forest, at least before Maria. 40% of our electricity is still renewable or possible. It's easy for us to become a fully renewable state. And so all of these wonders that we have one of the three best air qualities in the world. I told a few governments ago we should advertise that as a great thing. They laughed at me. I said we should advertise our place as the only place in the Caribbean without an international airport. I think those things, those smallness, the intimacy of Dominica is what makes it so special. But guess what? Look at all of these things, and this is just some of the list, right? Herbal medicine is still primary in Dominica. When people get sick in Dominica, they ask for bush before they ask for aspirin. You know, we have a basis, an integrity. We're not making this up. They got to make up pirate stories in Antigua and other places to attract people. We have, because you can only achieve the big idea, which I will get to, with integrity. It ain't no fake news. And you have to really be about it. You can't fake being 100% renewable. You can't fake it. So the important thing is that it has, that's why I was talking about our Constitution. what we are made of from the basic atomic level. That's what we have to find, that same atomic structure that's part of us is also part of the nature island, because for some reason we were found here. And so he doesn't know why he was born here. I know, and I know why I was born here. Because my metabolism, my consciousness was of a natural form, and it congealed here for the purpose of standing before you and telling you this today. Even for that reason only, my life would have been worth it. That's how I take every moment of the life. Every moment. Remember, you're not breathing air. You're breathing light. Look at this. Smallest and weakest economy in CARICOM. Third most cancerous nation in the world. Non-communicable disease epidemic, I'm told by all the doctors. You know, that's high blood pressure, heart disease. 176,000 acres cultivated in 1975. As an agricultural nation, we haven't gone up, we've gone down. And it's probably lower than that now. We have the biggest brain drain migration in the Caribbean. We have a 30% rate of returnees for students. St. Lucia has 70% returnee. Everybody, I am a family of 7, they're all grade 6. They ain't coming back here. Look, ask yourselves, how many of your family are here? And how many have gone abroad? And how much of your children are here, even if you're here? And this is a serious thing for Dominica. We're creating brilliant minds, but they're not staying. The dregs remain. We're the nature island of the world, but we have not one natural scientist or a PhD. We don't have a marine biologist. We're one of those geological wonders of SIDS. We don't have a geologist. You know what insects we have? We're the largest beetle in the world. Do you know Egyptians worship that beetle? We don't have an entomologist here. That's the study of insects. We don't have a botanist. We don't have a botanist. But we have 70 lawyers. 70 lawyers. What are they adjudicating? How to steal? Yeah, I'm talking to everybody in here. And I'm one of them. You know, if you lay down with dogs, you got to get up with fleas. But I'm not talking about lawyers, I'm talking about law. Western law. Everything Western, I'm saying this, you can call me racist, or everything white people ever created was bad. Especially bad for black people. And white people, Europeans, have to bow. It always is political, but it's really about that. Because these are caused by white culture, European culture. Let's make no bones about it. The world hasn't been destroyed in the last 300 years by man. No, by white man. Chinese didn't do it. Indians didn't do it. Let us be clear to the white people in here too, because they got to be honest. They have made this problem, and they have to say and do some reparations about it. But anyway, let's not go down that road. But look at where we are. So we have this wonder, this nature island wonder, but this is our situation. So how do we resolve this? What do we do? Well, we go back to the beginning where the slideshow began. And we have to think big. We have to think big because we have to think global. Because we in this global, you have to think universal. But you have to act local. Because you can only act. For much wonder that the Almighty gave you to see the universe, He put you in this little body that can just walk and can't fly. So there is a balance that has to be created. And that balance of bigness, big idea and small is beautiful, is what we are recommending to you. So this big idea, what is this big idea for small is beautiful? The big idea is to seriously make Dominica the icon of the United Nations, a society which can and does use natural solutions as the basis of their production and the ethos of its people. Because you only can produce what you actually feel. You can't fake it as again. You can fake doing fake stuff, but you can't fake doing real stuff. And where no part of nature can be illegal. Because this was part of a bigger presentation. But I will not go in the full presentation. I hope you will go there. And so this is what why, I should say. Because the world needs a state in the middle of this warring, environmentally and socially polluted and decaying world to represent an example
a purity, an oasis of a nation state, not just a place somewhere, but a nation state with sovereignty that can actually vote on the United Nations, can say I'm against all war because I'm the nature isle. It's be like motherhood. If you stand up there for your 15 minutes of fame as the Prime Minister of Dominica and you declare this, you're like motherhood. Because you're doing it with integrity. You're not making it up. You can really say all those things. By the way, we have the largest boiling ring. By the way, we have the last people of Kalinago. By the way, the latest colonized Caribbean people and all that other stuff. And so, why can this not be? As objective as you can. Does not the world need an icon to represent all this natural they're selling in their goods? Everything has to be natural, organic. But there's no place that represents, in all its aspects, in energy, in agriculture, in economy, in social relations, in governance, all of which is possible. We have the best local government arrangement. We have the best local health care. They're just not taken care of, but they're there. And so, why do we do this? Now, because health, wellness, and prosperity is the basis of our existence. No matter what anybody says, they want health, they want wellness, and they want prosperity. They want prosperity. They don't want to be wealthy. So they don't want to prosper in whatever they're doing. And now we want to do this. Well, remember, as much as these are global, it's local. We want to do this here. How can we achieve this here? It must be by agriculture. Agriculture is the basis of everything. It's land, and it's land, air, and water, because that's agriculture, our biosphere. And so we want to do that and create our consciousness from that. Our consciousness is agronomical. Our consciousness now is economical. We're going to get the next money. But agronomical is how do we create goods and health and wellness for ourselves from the land. Everything comes from land. Now, we need land use and land reform to get there. There's clearly too many abandoned estates and too much disparity of distribution of land. And I'm part of the family that dominates the imbalance. And that really needs to be balanced. And so, but how do you do it constructively? Which is what we hope in your groups that you will. These are the things you have to be thinking about in your groups. How do you achieve this? And this is achievable from light industry and agro-process. This is what we did before the white man came. We made our own stuff. There's nothing but agriculture. You can make your own jams. You can make your own teas. You can control your economy. When Plato said economy, and the economist in here will correct me, it means taking care of your household. That's what economy meant. Now it's just expanded, and now it's megalithic economy. I don't know what that is that's out there now. And so those are our basis, the consciousness of our being, our cultural and political life, and then our economic life. Those are the elements. And those are achievable by real things. Renewable energy, organic agriculture, because, as I said, if you're going to be a nature island, you can't be putting Grammar Zone, etc. It has to be total. And it's organic agriculture. And we're dealing with not just agronomics, but environomics. Now, we creating words because them words from them man ain't good either. So environomics, why? Because it's our economics, our nomics of our environment. So we're going to adjust our economic to our environment. Now, environment is more than ecology. Environment is all the things built and not built that makes the space where you are. And so we're going to have environmentonomics. And we're going to create that through value chain participation. The normal Western model is that somebody produces, he sells it to you, and then you do value-added thing. Classic example is that Italy don't have no coffee. It don't grow no coffee. It buys coffee for $1 a pound, roasts it, and grinds it, and sells it for 10 and 11. And that's the classic colonialist way. We want to control that value chain by having smaller cottage industries, limiting our desires, but just wanting prosperity instead of greed and wealth. And then our healthcare will be preventative. Because what we have here, as my colleague has so eloquently taught me, what we have in the West is a sick care system. Because you're sick, and then they try to take care of you. And they don't do it very well. So we want to prevent you from having to be sick. So our deal is preventative on a deep level. Psychologically, too. You have to think your health, this Western idea about your psychology is separate than physiology. I don't know where. My mind is part of this. And ancient medicine never separated the two. That's why when you were sick, you had a spiritual problem, too. And so this idea of psychology and physiology is another Western construct that has nothing to do with reality. It's pure fiction. It's fake, like everything else they are. Fake news. So this education now, we also have to underpin it by education. Now this education isn't repeat after me. Again, it's systems understanding and dimensional understanding. Like the first thing, like I'm into teaching children, but the first thing a child should see as he starts school is a globe, not a map, and see that he is, that's like the picture I showed you. You're part of something else. There's something bigger than you and bigger than that and bigger, bigger, bigger. So the idea that we are small, but we know the big, is an important, and to see life as dimensional. That everything is layers, there's depth. This black or white is not reality. Straight lines don't exist in nature. And so we want to create an intellectual ecology, because ecology is how natural systems work together to create an ecology, as opposed to an environment which is a static kind of thing. That's what the ecology are, active natural systems that work together. That's an ecology. Well, we want to create intellectual ecology. And we can do that by participatory learning. You don't just learn in square brown rooms on square brown desks, taught by square brown boards. That's nothing is square or straight in nature. So you use nature to teach them. You can teach them math by learning the rate of a river. Put a twig in a river, how long it takes to get from there to there. You can learn mathematical concepts. This idea of abstract learning of the Western mind is clearly not the best way to learn. And so we're suggesting, when you do this, this is what will happen. And this is the classic, if you will, ancient fullness. Because you have health, wellness, and prosperity as your overall umbrella. That's what's keeping you one, that's congealing all those things, all those energy forces we saw earlier. But that's being done on the land, and it's being done agronomically. That's the second layer that's buffering you and protecting you and nurturing you. And then it creates a way of life. So you have a social, active, interactive with your neighbors, a way of life. And then that means the production of goods. Now the production of goods is even babies, right? That's the first good you produce, right? So production of goods is a fundamental part of humanity. You can't just sit there and do nothing. You won't feel human. You got to produce something, even if it's a belt, a watch, a statue, a person. So production of goods is a fundamental. Now, the bottom part is what I haven't mentioned, but it's the dark matter. It's the invisibility, right? It's what is the intangible, and that is culture and art. Because of that underpins all of these practical, physical, fleshy things is the intangible. It's, like I say, like these guys, these Rockefellers, they have to mine and think to get millions of dollars, right? Michael Jackson made millions of dollars out of nothing, because we know everything comes from nothing. So he sat there and he said, I want you back, A, B, C. So he, from his concept, he snatched millions of dollars from nothing. That's what we do. We make something from nothing. And when the chips are down, that's when we have to, because another thing is polarity. So as bad as it is now, really the best is just on the other side of the coin. That's what also high consciousness, it's just polarity. Actually, when you're lowest, you're closest to the flip. And so, because we've gone so down, but once you go down, what's the other side of down? Up. Right? And so, as you feel that Dominica is so under stress, it's actually the exact moment for now, because before you woke up, you were asleep. And so, we leave you with these thoughts. Oh, well, one of the ways that we thought we would do this, I don't think we need, but basically you need festivals. Like in Africa, there was always festivals, but it was about a god. It was about something. It wasn't just Siwo. So festivals have to have purpose. Siwo is good, but you got a fet with purpose. You have to fet with purpose. Reggae teaches you that. So you can listen to psalms and rub-a-dub. So you rub-a-dubbing with purpose. You understand? And so, I won't go into the details, but we have all, remember this is part of a much bigger presentation, which we're allowing you to engage in to give it even more flesh. And so, we leave you with these ideas to ponder in your groups. Small is beautiful. The potential of possibilities. Imagining a new world is possible. You just have to imagine it. We imagine Rasta, we imagine dreads and beards, and look how we now. In less than 100 years. You imagine something, and you feel it, you can make anything. The stone that the builder refused will become the head cornerstone. And just as Dominica is the stone that the builder refused, it can become the head cornerstone. Because it didn't have enough flat land for care. So it missed that whole colonial thing. Or it didn't have beaches for tourism, so it missed all of that. Well, we have what we had, and we still have it. And maybe it's the stone's turn. In the beginning was the Word. And so this is the beginning. This is my word. But all word, all flesh first begins with the word, with the idea. And man can speak, and I can share ideas because we are the highest being. And so in the beginning of this process that we're now sharing with you is my word. And we trust it will take on flesh. We have any more? Right. Most important one. You have to think global. You have to think universal. Because we're all one. We're all made of the same material. But you have to act local. So how, knowing all of this and that we're all one, how do we take what we're here and make that and be engaged in that larger, bigger thing? And this whole idea that we're all connected is fundamental to Buddhist thought, to ancient African thought. Again, it's only Western religion that creates fighting and war and so on. If we get back to because it is that, it's a cultural thing. We have to get back to our essential Africanness. We really do. We can't be following these guys that have set up a system to keep us oppressed. It ain't racist. We're trying to defend the most ancient race, but also defend nature. These guys aren't just attacking you. They're attacking the water, the air, everything. And we have to be warriors now. This is our generation. This is where we're found. And we're here in Dominica when the last Star was defending this issue. And so I leave it to you. It's in your hands.